All right, it is 3 o'clock, May 28th. Let's call the meeting of the Urban Design Commission to order. Please silence your cell phones. And item 1, I'll call roll. George McQuistion, here. Jeff Struble. Here. Betsy Brunstetter.
Present.
Brian Fitzsimmons. Matt Guillory. Ron Wynn. John Robeson. Okay, that's 4. We have a quorum. Item 2A, the minutes. If there are no objections, we can consider the minutes approved by unanimous consent. Excellent. Item 3A, cases withdrawn, 501 Southwest 26th Street. Next item, 6A, cases for individual consideration, 804 Northwest 8th Street and 815.5 North Chartel. Michael?
Yes, this item was originally brought before the Commission on the March meeting and then continued to the April 23rd meeting, where it was continued once more to this meeting. This is a proposal that involved the demolition of 2 residences, which is the Commission has already approved through a CA. The remaining matters before the Commission today are related to the proposed site improvements, including demolition of an existing retaining wall and construction of new retaining walls, a new parking lot, improvements to the alley, construction of a trash enclosure, new planters and landscaping and irrigation, as well as new sidewalks on site and along North Chartel. We have reviewed the project and determined that it's in compliance with all the applicable guidelines for the Cottage District, which is the downtown design review district standards. The big issue for the Commission the last time this was heard in March was concerned about the lot at 804 Northwest 8 being perhaps retained for the possibility of a single-family residence, and the Commission had reservations about allowing the project to move forward with the entire parking lot on the north side of the alley that would take the back portion of that lot away and perhaps impede a single-family residential development. The applicant has provided you with basically 2 options in the plans that are in your packet. Basically, the one option shows no improvement of the parking lot on the north side of the alley, and the second shows a full improvement of the north side of the alley as a parking lot. So it gives the Commission the option of approving either option. The applicant is still proposing to have you consider the full improvement of the parking lot on the north side of the alley, because they do intend to move forward with plans for a multifamily structure on the 804 Northwest 8 lot. They are close to having conceptual designs completed for that structure, but they're not to the point of being able to submit them to you today. So we're prepared to respond to any questions you may have, and the applicant is also present.
Hi, I'm Kelly Smith, just in case you have questions. It's been a couple months, so I'm not completely clear on this, but it seems like there was someone that was concerned about the use of the alley because they were neighbors and it would cut them off or something. Is there?
Yes, we have neighbors behind us that they're not going, right now they do not have access to their lots. They would have to enter off of 7th Street? Sure. Sure.
Hi, I'm Doug Beal, WB Holdings. That's to the neighbors to the south, adjacent to the south parking lot. We're talking to them about selling them an easement to the property so they can access the north side of their property. It sits to the south of the parking lot, and that's true. They don't have any access, and there hasn't been any access there previously. But the neighbors to the south there, we want them to have access, so we're discussing that with them currently.
that with
This would be easement would be right there on the proposed site plan. You take that cursor to the left, all just right there, and that would be the access to the back part of their property. And we prefer to have a permanent transition to sell them, or, the discussion now as to how we can do that the cleanest way possible for both parties. We want them to have access to their property. We prefer that they own that. I don't know that it's possible to do that as a real estate individual. We're either going to have them a long-term easement lease or to sell them that piece of property, whatever it takes. It's to their advantage to have that. And that's one of the reasons we like to develop the parking lot on the north and the south sides. That will take away a little bit of our parking. So we'd like to try to do this all in one fell swoop, to try to do 802 and 804. There is a current retaining wall at 802. We'd like to repair that. It needs to be repaired. We'd like to extend it over to 804. From our perspective, there's junk back there, kind of flotsam, jetsam, rock, and entanglements of foliage. We'd like to do it all in one fell swoop because it's less expensive.
Did anybody else want to speak from the audience? Or
Well, the question, well, the part you brought up was actually another neighbor. My name's Marlis Hakim, and it was another neighbor that just had qualms about having multifamily and just having more parking. It wasn't us.
Right. I think that objection was someone who accessed the alley to get to their house, and they just felt that having parking on the north and south side of that portion of the alley would mean more cars that they would have to contend.
So to be clear on this, the property to the south of the alley is parking currently. The retaining wall would be cut and replaced, and parking would be placed right there. There is typically old garages back there, and there's room for parking there. It's just now become a kind of a dumping grounds for old rock and old concrete and trees that grow back there. And it wouldn't be taking up any of the alleyway currently. It would just be cleaning that area up and extending it over to 804 would actually give more parking adjacent to the alleyway, so people don't have to park on surface streets. And just the way it is now, they park across the street in a little city gym over there, and the parking lot to the south already is parking lot. So this will be designed to clean off the space so people can actually use it as parking rather than just parking alongside the alleyway like they do now. And there's no access back there to 804 from the alleyway currently. It's just through the front, the surface street, off of 8th Street.
Okay. Yes, sir.
It's Dr. Mike Hakim. Marlis she's my boss. And the only thing, we're the neighbors most affected by this construction, and we would support this done in all one fell swoop like they're recommending. It's a massive improvement to where it is right now, and seeing that we want to bring in 2 single-family houses in front of that, we also support them doing this all in one fell swoop, and it also cuts down on the cost, and it also cuts down on the debris and the trash that would be available, and then it would improve the area. Thank you, sir.
Did anyone else from the audience choose to speak on this? First, I just want to say I think it's what you're doing with the property is great. It's been, as you know, it's been in poor condition for a long time, and it's really going to help the area. I think what the objection to was last time this was heard, and I can sympathize with it, which is, not you, but some developers have plans they announce, and then they don't follow through, and if they kind of get to an interim stage, they've, in a sense, impeded the development efforts of that lot for future owners. What my question to you would be, if you definitely are going to take 804 and put a new multi-family structure there, and you're close to finalizing the concept, is there some way that we could approve half the parking and then you could stage the work so that then you bring 804, the concept, in front of us, and at the same time you do that, assuming we approve that, you could then include the parking behind 804, and we would know that we're kind of doing things in a more phased approach, but one with which we could be a little bit more confident.
Right. I see your point. Let me kind of take you up to speed of where we are now. So 802 is currently a multi-family home. We've eliminated a couple of apartments for that. We want to do a fourplex on 804. So the sum and substance of this all is there will be about the same number of people living there a year from now than there was last year. So whenever we do, we're almost finished with 802. Inside renovations are almost complete. We have the outside yet to go. As soon as we do that, the 802 is, once that's finished, 804 is slated to go immediately following that. We would rather be able to do the entire back parking to improve the retaining wall on 802, remove the debris, and create a retaining wall, 804, next to it in one shot, because we're going to have big landscaping vehicles in there. We have big dump trucks, and it costs us substantially more to do that if we do it in two separate segments. And we'd rather not do that. I understand your concern. And for us, it just creates a little bit more of a financial hardship. And you'd have to have the crew come in the second time, and you know how that goes. The alley access are going to run over the parking lot probably.
I apologize, I probably didn't express myself clearly. I don't mean actually do the work in two phases, because I agree that would be undue expense. What I was suggesting is that we give you an approval, assuming the other commissioners are all right with this, we give you approval for the parking behind 802. So you've got that approval, you can start doing whatever you need to do on that part. Then maybe at the next meeting, you bring in your plans for 804, assuming that's fine, that would be approved. That would include the parking behind 804. We at least know what we're working with here. And then, if that were done in a timely fashion, when it actually came to moving earth and bringing crews and equipment in, you could do the whole thing, but we would at least know what we were signing up for with 804.
Okay. Whenever you say the parking in 802, do you mean the parking lot to the south of the alleyway? Is the parking lot to the north of the alleyway, just south of the structure? We like to do that in one fell swoop. Let me show you. So this right here, this is existing parking lot. We'd like to come in here and make all of this, repair this retaining wall, and clean this up and create a retaining wall. We'd like to do that all in one shot.
Sorry, the biggest thing also is when we knock down that blue building that we've got approval knocked down, that's going to tear up that entire back part of that lot. So we're going to have to put back some type of retaining wall at that time anyway. It's acting as a retaining wall, actually. And to get the house out of there, we're going to have to tear down some of the existing as well. So we're going to have to go back to hold all that dirt back anyway, to put some type of retaining wall, whether we're allowed to do the parking. Does that make sense? I just know that we're going to...
I have a question that might clear this up. How far along are you on your plans for the next multifamily unit?
I have a rendering with me today, but our floor plan is not set in stone, so I didn't bring it. I have the rendering of what the outside would look like.
And when would they have had to submit that to be heard at the next month's meeting?
Yesterday.
So it would be a couple months before we could even really hear.
I'm just thinking they're probably not going to get their CO once we tear out the blue building, unless we make that safe, you know what I'm saying? Because we're going to have to put something back so that people can't just wander down and fall off the edge of the planet off that lot. And I know that a lot of times they won't grant that unless there's a safe barrier there.
So I have a question. Do you feel like it would decrease the chance that someone would buy 804 just in case they didn't do any work there if they went ahead and built the parking lot the way they've got shown?
What I'm trying to represent are the objections from, I think, some of the neighbors at the last meeting, and what I thought I heard on the commission, which was, and frankly, it is a concern of mine too, is that if the parking lot were built across the back and something were to happen, who knows what, but where 804 never was completed, well, now you've got a lot, 804, you've got a parcel with parking in the back that's truncated, and does that limit what can be done with that, and is that...
The area in back of 804 currently has nothing but junk, trees, and old concrete blocks, parts of curbs. What we like to do is put a retaining wall back there, and whether we designate that as parking and create the fit and finish for parking is really not important. Instead of a temporary retaining wall, we'd like to put a permanent retaining wall, a nice retaining wall. In terms of, and parenthetically, as the owner on the B and WB Holdings, we're not selling, we're developing this. And I'd like to put a nice retaining wall there, and if there's an objection to making it a parking lot, just extra parking back there with finished surface and painted lines, we don't have to do that. We can create a retaining wall similar to what it is, or identical to what it is at 802, and just leave it like that if we need further approval. It's just whenever we come and use some of this heavy machinery to take down the eyesore teal building, we're going to have to do something to maintain that. Otherwise, there'll be too much erosion and loss of the soil. So we have to do something to it. We'd like to make it look like what it would look like at 802. We'd like to make a nice, uniform, finished product, whether or not we put parking on it. And I understand that would need additional approval.
So I ask all those questions because I don't think that it would reduce the value of that property if they had to sell the property, if there was a retaining wall and even parking spots. If they own the property, they can do whatever they want with that property. Anybody else that came along could utilize that retaining wall or, take it down and build a garage there. I mean, the property would still be with the lot, I would assume.
I agree. That's a real mess back there. It's, somebody could get hurt back there the way it is now, and it just looks awful. And I think cleaning it up, if somebody wants to somehow grade it down to grade, they can take out a retaining wall. I think it looks pretty good.
Neighbor at 818 is putting in a retaining wall back there. Looks great. And there's other areas that have been cleaned up back behind 814. So what we're going to do is try to make it even, try to make it similar to the other areas that have been cleaned up and restored. We'd like to, if it were me and I had a nice retaining wall back there rather than the tangle of trees and debris, it would increase the value. It would increase at least the appeal to me for that property if I were buying it.
We've also talked to OG&E. We're relocating and a pole to go underground, and they're going to stub up for our future 804 for the fourplex. We just have to tell them how many we're planning on using on that area, and they'll stub up for that. So we're in negotiation with them as well with that.
Okay. Jeff, where are you coming out on this?
I think it's going to be an improvement. I think we want it safe, and I think that if they're fine with maybe doing the retaining wall and not the parking lot and come back in the next month or two with the plans for the house, I think I'm in favor of that. And then they can at least get the retaining wall up where it all matches and it looks good and safe. And
Okay. And if I do think it's an excellent point in terms of saving money. We clearly want to support you in this effort. And if no one is here is going to object to this, then I'm not going to be the defender of that objection. So any other thoughts or motions at this point?
I have a question
Yeah.
on the difference between, is the new design that we received the actual design on the retaining wall and the wrought iron on the top of it?
Yes.
Because you had kind of a design that was an arc before.
The fence, yes, is on, is, let's see. Oh, yes, I see what you're saying. I think I did a detail instead. On the renderings, they were arched. Is that, yeah, I had made them straight when we straightened them out, but that was because I was changing the elevation. I can fix that and send it to you.
I think either way, it just has to be defined so
Sure.
that when
Yeah, I don't
your
have a-
inspector
yeah, I
comes
can do
out,
that.
you don't get nailed for it.
I wasn't going to, I forgot he was going to, I'm sorry, Michael.
Yeah, the
gonna
arch
include
version-
that was from the previous ones that we'd submitted, and I didn't redo the renderings, I just did 2Ds, and so I'd gone back with straight one, but.
The other issue is the fence on the south property line of the south parking lot. In the description, it reads as a stockade fence, and I mean, this is probably the old rendering as well, but it reads as,
The rendering probably shows something different. We were going to go ahead and do the fence all the way around the same, and then there was talk of the headlights might be a problem for the people behind us. So
Right.
we wanted to go ahead and raise that and make it a solid, so it wouldn't be an issue for the properties behind us.
The sheet on the screen right now has the detail for the stockade fence in the upper right corner.
okay. So I think we just have to be careful about if and when we approve this, that the attachments to the CA are what actually we're approving, right?
What's your concern about the stockade fence and the elevations?
The stock, well, it's just that it shows it two different, in the rendering, it shows it one way, and in the, I guess what's confusing me is, and maybe it's just me, but in this packet of plans, we have old and new
Okay, yeah,
combined,
yeah,
and
we-
the text doesn't correspond to the
Yeah,
image.
we were
and-
trying to provide you with some perspective on the way the overall site was going to be developed in terms of the rendering that was put in. The applicant didn't have time to put together another rendering that showed the current treatments on the south property line fence, and we did not get a new detail that showed the straight wrought iron. So if the approval is for straight wrought iron and the stockade fence, we'll make sure that the plans that get stamped approved
Yes.
show that.
So let me repeat back what I think is supposed to be there, and you can tell me if that's
The
correct.
plans the design for now that shows the straight was the one we were going to go with.
Okay.
I just didn't redo the renderings from the previous design.
So the retaining wall with the planters, I think it is an improvement, actually.
Yes.
And the straight wrought iron is on the wall that is on the north of the parking lot,
Yes.
all the way across, and then it also carries on along the Chartel frontage, is that
Yes, ma'am.
correct?
Yes.
Okay, then we have a little bit of the wrought iron behind the dumpster enclosure,
Yes.
and the dumpster enclosure,
Is on the detail sheet. It's,
yeah, I'm looking at the detail sheet, I see the front of so is it also it's a horizontal band of some sort?
yes, it's shiplap siding.
Shiplap,
Yes,
okay.
yes, ma'am.
With a I guess shiplap siding gate?
Yes,
The
so
front?
that you can, yes, we didn't want to be able to see the trash.
And then the south of all of the parking is a
A wood fence.
wood fence?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm reading wood fence, and then I'm seeing the trees and the shrubs. Are those in front?
They're in front, yes. We
Okay.
needed that for our
So
landscape.
there's a little planting area between
Yes, ma'am.
the parking and, okay. Does everybody see it that way?
So are there brick pillars in between the fence, or is that just the trash cans around?
That's just the trash can.
So, okay, because
On the,
it looks like brick pillars on the one elevation.
right.
Between the
Yeah,
fence.
that's the edge. There's one on the very corner, but the the edge, I was just trying to tie in what the other side of the property looked like.
This is the old, this is the, right, that's the wrought iron with the brick. So what you're right here, so on this, on the very front page, you can see wood fence that runs down the bottom, and then there's a gap where there's some plantings, and then there's the dumpster enclosure and the parking.
Okay, if it's all right, I'd like to move approval. Oh,
I have a procedural note that might affect some of this. I'll look to Helen and Michael. So the published agenda was for action on 804 Northwest 8th and 815 and a half North Shortell. So 815 and a half was where the blue building was demoed and where you're now wanting to put parking and retaining walls. That's that property. And 804 is the next lot over.
Yes.
So action on those properties is what's on the agenda, correct, Paula? I just wanted to point out, I guess the description of the retaining wall refers to property at 800 and 804 Northwest 8th.
that retaining wall would be in conjunction
With the
blue
815
building.
and a half, yes. I just wanted to point out so that we could clarify in the motion, is that, so you could, whoever makes the motion. could-
When it approaches the 800 property, do we need to resubmit for that? Or can we include it? I know, because it's all together, so
Right,
I'm just
exactly.
asking
That's
how
what I'm
you
trying to
would
make sure
prefer.
that,
Right.
everything gets approved.
No, I understand
yeah.
where you're going with
So,
that. I just
yeah.
don't, however you would prefer me fix that, I would be more than happy to fix that.
Right. But the staff report, well, okay,
Oh, no, because 800 and 815 are right together.
Right. Yeah, the parking lots on the south side are technically the 800 and 804, are technically the 800.
The south side's actually 811. I know.
So, I don't know, Helen or Paula, can they just amend it, or do we have to come back because the owner, people wouldn't have been looking for the other address? Okay, so they might have to technically come back, is that? Okay, or we might be able to squeeze it into next month. Okay. Does that make sense, George?
It makes sense. I don't know if that parking lot, does that southern parking lot actually have its own address?
I did not realize that it did until probably 2 days before we came the last time, but yes, it's actually got an 811 address.
Okay. Because when you
Is that
click
on
into it
North-
on the county assessor side, I think it shows that it's linked in with 800.
Is that on Northwest 7th then?
I think it's off Chartel, is the street that...
Oh, 811 on
811
Chartel.
Chartel.
Alleyway and Chartel, between 7 and 8.
Well, okay, I'm going to try to do a motion, and actually, I'm going to set up an opportunity for Michael just to administratively approve it. I'm sorry?
I just have one question on fencing and stockade. If you can run it to match the dumpster, more modern design.
The shiplap.
Yeah, do the shiplap instead of
Just-
plastic stockade.
Okay.
That would be my question.
Okay. George, is this okay?
Yeah, right. I was just, one little question to Lisa. The items for consideration on the staff report do say 800 and 804. So,
But on the agenda, on the publicized agenda, it's 804.
oh, I see. And your point is, if someone were
If someone was
focused...
leafing through the agenda, they would say, oh, I don't need to be concerned about those, but I might be concerned about 800. Like, you can only take action on what's in the agenda.
Okay, I got you. And the other question, and this is, I guess, what going, is it 800 or is it 802? Yeah,
I don't know.
Of course, there is no 800. It's 802, and 802 and 815 and a half. Is that right? On the same,
Yes.
Same lot. It's the same deal. And I didn't know that we had 811 until just now.
right.
Well, which is currently a parking lot, and would they have to apply for, they'd have to apply for a fence and the dumpster stuff, but would they have to apply for repaving that parking lot, since it's gravel right now?
Yeah, they would.
They would.
Okay.
Make sure it's specified, whether you're going for all of them or...
Okay, so I'm going to move approval on everything I can possibly move approval on. And since the agenda says 804 and 815 and a half, 804 Northwest 8th and 815 and a half North Chartel, I move approval on those. And I believe that, even though it says in the staff report, demolish the existing retaining wall for 800 and 804, I believe that the retaining wall is actually at 815. So I would move approval for that, plus the rebuilding of a new retaining wall at 815 and a half and 804. And include the 9 parking stalls behind 802 and 804 Northwest 8th Street.
Were you going to include all the parking behind, or were you going to include the retaining wall behind both parcels and the parking behind the 815 and a half?
The retaining wall behind both parcels, the parking behind both parcels, and put a caveat that we've reviewed the parking at 811. Is that all the parking at 811?
Yes, ma'am.
All the parking at 811. However, because it's not on here, I would move that Michael be able to extend a administrative approval when he got the information on that. George, have I missed anything?
Well, no, it's just my understanding was we were kind of, it may not matter.
Putting the parking on hold?
Right, putting the
802?
parking on hold, not the retaining wall, but the parking on hold behind 804.
Well, I would like to go ahead and move that they do the paving, because what would happen if they got a concrete truck and they can't get a concrete truck up the other end of that alley, because that alley is very steep on the other end, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
They would just break up the concrete that they had just poured. So I'd like them to go ahead and do the paving on the parking area, and no striping, if that's okay with you.
If no one is here to object, I don't want to make them pay more money than they need to do to get this project to completion, so that's fine by me.
Okay.
So,
Is that clear, or do I need to go through that again? Paul? I think I got it. Okay. So I think that's the end of my motion. Wait a second, let me see if there's anything else I need to say there. And I make that approval on the basis the project complies with the regulations and guidelines of the Downtown Design District zoning ordinance as referred to in Section C of the staff report.
Do you want to specify this lap siding on the wood fence?
And that is actually on 811.
Right.
And
Okay. Okay.
Should I just submit that then to Michael?
I just will say that the applicant
Yep.
agreed to do shiplap siding instead of a regular stockade fence.
I'll second
On site 11. Okay.
okay, Paula, do you have what you need? Okay, we have a motion by Brinstetter, a second by Struble. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. 6A is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hadn't been able to talk enough since I didn't come to the last meetings.
All right, next item is 8A, administrative approval. Michael?
Yes, the two items on the administrative approval report are from the same piece of property. One's for a sign, and one is for the relocation of a door and extension of an ADA ramp. They just happen to come in at different times under separate applications. It's for a building that used to be a Blockbuster on the south side of 23rd, west of Penn.
Just out of curiosity, is that door being moved for a code-related reason, or?
Just the way the suites broke up in the when they chopped up the building into multiple suites.
Gotcha, okay.
And that completes the report.
Okay, B, comments from planning department staff, and maybe the part of this, maybe Lisa, you want to explain what your role here is, your new and improved role with the UDC.
Sorry, I forget that this is my first time here. I'm sitting here as the urban design program planner, managing all of the design review commissions and committees, and hopefully not just managing them, but improving them across the board in terms of their individual strengths and addressing their communal challenges. So it's been fun. Come see me on the 9th floor.
Are you going to be joining us now? Are you ready?
Yes, you may or may not remember, at some point Aubrey was always here before she was interim and then director. So I am Aubrey of like three iterations. And I'm Susan of like 4 iterations ago, and Aubrey of a couple iterations ago.
Okay, very good.
And, another note has been slipped to me. I thought we talked about this last time, but maybe not. And Teresa's here. All committee members and all commission members have the opportunity to join ULI if you're not already a member, which I think we have several members here, that have the opportunity to join ULI under the city's membership. So it's only $100 as opposed to the regular individual fee is quite a bit more.
Yeah, no kidding. Are we able to downgrade?
If you've just renewed, we'll have to talk, but Teresa will be in the lobby to answer any further questions if anyone needs applications. So
What's interesting, so this committee or commission probably has more ULI members than any other.
Yeah.
Way to go, guys, yeah.
So it's been extended to HP, Scenic River, Bricktown, everybody, all the commissioners.
Okay.
One thing to note is that also the ULI membership, if you wanted to be a full member, which, George, you may already be a full member.
No, I'm not the full, I'm like the, whatever
The
it is.
full membership, and I could be wrong with the numbers, but for a public membership, for a full membership, it's something like $250. So it's
Wow.
really, yeah.
Good deal.
It's not as expensive as the current.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, and to be president, since that's probably where you're going, you have to be a full member. Right? It's a wonderful organization. John, are you a
No, I'm
member?
not in it.
Yeah.
I will be.
Oh, yeah,
Great.
yeah, you'd be a great addition, absolutely. And from planning staff, do we have any insight into backfilling Lisa's position and David Yost's position? Are you getting any intimations regarding those?
We have, that's one of my jobs now, is to fill all those. We have many spreadsheets and many recommendations. If anybody has recommendations for anybody on this commission or others, please let me know. We have lists that we're vetting, and it's all only slightly complicated by the fact that the membership composition will be changed once the latest commission guidelines are finally adopted by council next month.
Okay. So are we in a holding pattern until that happens?
We're No, we intend to make recommendations to the mayor that we know will still be valid
Gotcha.
after the rules change.
Okay.
And as far as the function of the commission, it continues to function even with vacancies.
Okay. Excellent. Michael, did you have anything to add? Any other comments?
No.
Okay, I wanted to add one comment, and we don't have to get into this in depth now, but I wanted people to start to think about it. And that was the at last meeting when there was Ken Fitzsimmons was representing an applicant. Whoops. Ken Fitzsimmons was representing an applicant, and there were some neighborhood residents who were contesting a part of that application, and Brian Fitzsimmons made the motion, and one of the neighbors said, well, isn't that a conflict of interest? Brian's making a motion for his brother. And I personally didn't think it was, but I emailed Susan Randall, because she helped us write our bylaws that have our conflict of interest language in it, and I said, help me understand this. And so her response was, the conflict of interest questions are always fact-specific. I'm reading from her response to me. Anything that would keep a member from voting on an issue fairly and impartially could be considered a conflict of interest, such as financial, familial ties, business ties, personal prejudices. The member should be open-minded, objective, impartial, free of influences. And I called her to get clarification. She said that the existence of a familial tie in and of itself does not mean that there's a conflict of interest, but it's an area to watch out for. So we kind of had from Susan, some of the, Helen can probably help clarify if we have specific points that we need clarifying. But the other issue is just from a perception standpoint, how does it look to members in citizens in the audience? And of course we need to be aware of that too. So and that arguably is even more important than what the specific legal language states. So Brian isn't here. I wanted to talk about it a little bit. I don't think it's a huge issue, but it probably is something we need to be sensitive to, maybe in a way that at least I haven't been as sensitive to the perception as I perhaps should have been. But I will leave it at that in case people have additional comments or questions about it.
Well, I'll say this, that what Susan told you is a position of the office in terms of that. And we have an ordinance that says if you have an interest in something that's more than 25%, that's kind of questionable. We don't make the decision. It's up to the individual commissioner, whatever, to make that decision. But I don't see that vote would disqualify somebody from serving on this commission. So I think right now we're okay.
Okay.
Yeah, as far as I know, Brian's business and Kenneth's business are completely separate. They may be brothers, but I don't believe that they may actually confer with each other now and then. But can I ask a question about that? Did that project move on? The one with the bar and the patio on top?
Well, there were two. What I'm referring to was, I think, Diebeck K, and then the other was Gaiudes. Gaiudes is in front of the Planning Commission now trying to get some type of ABC overlay. And there's been some controversy again with the neighbors. They recently appeared, and it was continued. So the current status is still continued in front of the Planning Commission.
George?
Okay. Have we had any movement on the parking issue with 23rd Street, Western, and Midtown? I think those were, there was some kind of parking study being done?
IQC, in conjunction with the Planning Department, was looking at three areas, Uptown 23rd, the Plaza District, and the Paseo. And I've gone to their meetings, their public meetings at least. I think I've gone to most of them. And I do not think they have not come out with any hard and fast recommendations.
That's true. I have not seen any kind of final report or final analysis, and I haven't even heard of a timeline, but
I think
I
that
will see
the
what-
timing is going to be sometime, I think, by the end of June, because I think that's when the semester ends and the students who are working on the project for IQC have to wrap it up.
And they did get one for the Plaza District last month, week 6. But as far as I think they started the Plaza District before the other ones also.
Okay, and it might be a good idea to have them, when they're done, come and present, because obviously we oversee all the different areas. Michael?
On Gaiutis, there is an update.
Oh, please.
The commission, Planning Commission wanted the applicants to come back to them with a SPUD so that the commission would have better control over hours of operation, other kinds of factors that go into the conflict between the neighborhood and the business. And I think they made that suggestion pretty strongly, at least one occasion, perhaps 2 occasions. And for whatever reason, the applicant resisted that, and they were trying to address it through some sort of informal agreement with Mesta Park neighborhood. And last week, when they went to Planning Commission, the Planning Commission kind of got tired of not having a SPUD in front of them, and they denied it. So the applicant now is in the position of taking that item before the council and with a recommendation of denial from the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you. So, thank you, Michael, I appreciate that.
But I have a question. At this point now, they can still do the SPUD and just start over again, right? Is that-
They could, but I mean, it would, the timing would be, it would probably be at least 3 months out, because they have to come back, if they're going to do a SPUD, they have to come back to this commission first before they go to Planning Commission. And they haven't even filed it at this point, so.
Right, I think there's kind of a fundamental, I just heard one of their appearances before the Planning Commission, and I think their point of view was there are currently laws, ordinances on the books that would regulate us appropriately, and I think the Planning Commission disagreed with that, maybe focused especially on operating hours or that sort of thing. Okay.
but it's under construction, that building, isn't it?
I don't know that they've started construction. That's the building that's the
I
building.
drove by in the last couple of days, and
That's
I
a
thought they
Chartel in 23rd?
Yeah, I thought they were doing demo, but maybe that was just investigatory.
That might have been repairing the damage from the car accident, I'm not sure.
Do you know about the car accident?
Yeah,
Okay.
but it was on the other side.
Oh, okay.
It's on the other corner.
A car was taking that corner and lost control and crashed into the front of that building, and it was a fatality accident, I believe.
Oh, seriously? Ended up crashing into the front of that building?
The front and that retaining wall.
Yeah, they would have had to like jump up wow.
They can always do the improvements and open as a restaurant.
Right, exactly. The specific issue that was in front of the Planning Commission was the ABC overlay. Right. Excellent. Okay, anything else? No? Okay. Well, we know when the next meeting is. It's in the agenda. If there are no objections, we will consider ourselves adjourned by unanimous consent. Thank you.